The gospel today speaks of the freedom of humility, the freedom that comes from humility. Actually, Jesus presents two ways or two paths. The path of humility that makes you free, and also he warns us against the path of pride or vanity that leads to slavery. Slavery of what? The slavery of being driven by the opinion of others. Robert Barron, when speaking about these two options between humility and pride, gives this beautiful image of the monkey on your shoulder. He says that we all have this monkey. We cannot get out of it. This monkey is called ego. I learned by correction that it's ego, not ego. Last week I was doing groceries and I remember that story and I saw not the ego, but the ego. What is this monkey? It's this desire to be noticed, this desire to be praised, this desire to be affirmed in our identity, in our goodness, in our beauty. The problem of the Pharisees is that they fed the monkey with human praise. The gospel says that all they do it to be seen. They perform all their actions to be seen. So they seek human praise. They go to the synagogues, the church place, and they pretend to be super spiritual, super religious. They go to the marketplace. They want to be saluted like with the title rabbi. They go to banquets and they like places of honors. All the time they are in this path of vanity and pride, trying to feed this monkey. And I think we can identify and we can experience the same. How many times we get happy when someone says something about us. By the way, it's the annual Archdiocese census, so they are counting. There's nothing strange. So we get a promotion, we get a compliment, we get a positive email, and our ego grows. They even say that in social media there's an analysis of there's something in the brain that when you get a text or a like on Facebook or those things, your happiness grows. So we are very much like these Pharisees, very much like these scribes, trying to feed this monkey called ego. We're slaves to the path of slavery and vanity. And that's why today Jesus proposes his way, the way of humility. In the Gospel of John, Jesus says, I do not seek human glory. I honor the Father. I used to say that we should kill the monkey. But now I realize that that was spiritual malpractice. I hope no one sues me, but we should not kill the monkey. We should change the diet. What does it mean? Human praise, human honor is never enough to feed the monkey of ego. Never enough. And that's why the path of Jesus, the path of humility, is seeking a higher source. Jesus says, I don't seek human praise. I don't live to get praised when I give a preaching, when I do a miracle. I don't come to this world to seek your praise, your honor. I seek to honor the Father, and the Father honors me. And that's where I find my nourishment. That's where I find my strength. And that's why I'm free from the opinions of others. And if you read the Gospels, you see this dynamic. That Christ is feeding the monkey because he is always in the eyes of the Father. For him, the Father is so real that he seeks his praise. And the consequence is that the Father honors him. All the Gospels and the letters, when they speak of the coming of Christ, they speak of him coming in glory and honor, enveloped in fame given by God. In preparation for this homily, I read again, I think I read it 5 times, this first chapter of the book, The Weight of Glory, by C.S. Lewis. I really recommend to read it. I'm going to send it to you in the e-letter. The first chapter of that book is called The Weight of Glory. And Lewis expresses very well this dynamic that we should not kill the monkey, but that we should seek praise, but praise from God. This is what he says. I turn to the idea of glory. There is no getting away from the fact that this idea is very prominent in the New Testament and in early Christian writings. Salvation is constantly associated with palms, crowns, white robes, thrones, and splendor like the sun and the stars. But not fame conferred by our fellow creatures. Fame with God, approval, or I might say, appreciation by God. It's a key concept that fame is to be appreciated, recognized, approved by God. And then, when I had thought it over, I saw this view was scriptural. Nothing can eliminate from the parable the divine accolade. Well done, good and faithful servant. With that, a good deal of what I had been thinking all my life fell down like a house of cards. I suddenly remembered that no one can enter heaven except as a child. And nothing is so obvious in a child, not in a conceited child, but in a good child, as its great and undisguised pleasure in being praised. Not only in a child either, but even in a dog or a horse. Apparently, what I had mistaken for humility all these years prevented me from understanding what is in fact the humblest, the most childlike, the most creaturely of pleasures, nay, the specific pleasure of the inferior, the pleasure of a beast before men, a child before its father, a pupil before his teacher, a creature before its creator. So Lewis expresses this principle that this is a very creaturely pleasure, the pleasure of the inferior, the pleasure of being praised by the superior, like the horse and the dog by the master, the child with his father, a pupil before his teacher, and a creature, us, before its creator. So Lewis is saying, yes, seek glory, seek honor. You need to be affirmed in your ego. Your monkey needs to be fed, but seek it in God. Allow God to be so real that He will give it to you. And that's what Jesus says today. You have a father. You are a child. Humble yourself and you will be exalted. You will receive honor and glory. Psalm number 8 says, "What is man that you care for him? You have crowned him with honor and glory." The promise of the gospel is that what the Father did with Jesus, He would do with each one of us. He will be crowning us with honor and glory. Hopefully He will say, "Well done, good and faithful servant." You will be noticed for all eternity. You will not be forsaken. And so on and so forth. That's the path of freedom. And this is not an easy path to take. If you want, there are two ways of taking this path. One is active and one is passive. First, the active is to be in His presence and to humbly serve Him. Jesus says, the greatest will be the servant. When you are humble, you serve. Pride impedes service. The Pharisees, they were all doing for their own sake. They They were using their position to be praised. So they were unable to give. But the one who is humble is fed, in a sense, is nourished by God. So then he or she is able to serve. A good way to put it is, imagine that you go to a dinner, formal dinner, and you're very hungry. Well, you won't be able to engage in conversations. You will devour the food very quickly. But if you snack before going to the dinner, well, you'll have something in your stomach. You will not be so hungry. Something similar is with God and us. The more real God becomes, the more we receive His appreciation, His fame, His confirmation, the less we need the praise of others, and the more we go to others to serve in freedom. So a good way to grow in humility is just to silently, humbly do what you have to do every day before the Father, knowing that He notices you and that He will praise you. And the second thing, and this is harder, is to receive humiliation without being defensive. So if you don't choose the active way, the path of humility, don't worry, God will humble us. Because there's no way to enter heaven without humility. And the way of humility that is passive, the one that God sends, is tough, is humiliation. Whoever humbles himself will be exalted. So Jesus says, when you humble yourself, will be exalted. But to be humbled is tough. It's like an injection. It hurts, but it heals. Think of this. Our ego is like those stress balls that you push them in and they try to reshape and gain size again. That's how we are. When someone says something hurtful to you, when you receive criticism, the first reaction is anger and being defensive. And that's why Jesus says, no, be humble, stay silent. When humans are not feeding the monkey, I will feed you. When you are not receiving human praise, you will receive my attention. So receive humiliation and learn to place yourself before the Father who loves you as a father. And the Psalm says, as a mother, I have still and quiet my soul like a child. As a father and as a mother, God embraces us. I finish with this. It's a very beautiful prayer that is difficult to pray because it touches this area of humility. It's called the Litanies of Humility. I will say the first part. You will say, deliver me, Jesus. From the desire of being esteemed, deliver me, Jesus. From the desire of being loved, from the desire of being extolled, from the desire of being honored, from the desire of being praised, from the desire of being preferred to others, from the desire to be consulted, from the desire of being approved, from the fear of being humiliated, from the fear of being despised, from the fear of suffering rebukes, from the fear of being calumniated, from the fear of being forgotten, from the fear of being ridiculed, from the fear of being wronged, from the fear of being suspected. Lord, make us meek and humble of heart. May we seek you, seek your honor, your praise. Set us free through the path of humility.